All right, everybody. Want to welcome everybody back to another episode of the GBL Podcast. It's 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Thursday, April 2nd. It is not April Fool's, so this is not an April Fool's podcast. We've been pretty back and forth on schedule lately, but that's how the whole world is right now, and that's
Yeah,
the changes you got to adapt to.
yeah, I was gonna say April Fool's is canceled this year.
April Fool's is
Yeah, for
canceled this
sure.
year. Go home, everybody. And I do want to talk about something that we've announced today. So if you're interested in more Fight of Animals, which was the tournament we hosted for Quarantined Rapport this past weekend, we've just announced that we're going to be hosting a launch day tournament for the Nintendo Switch version of Fight of Animals. So this is going to be on launch day, April 9th. So you buy it a couple hours before it comes out. Should be out by the time it launches. It's going to be a US and EU release. So at 9 p.m. EST, if you're planning on picking up the Fight of Animals Nintendo Switch version, it's available for pre-order right now. It's got 10% off for the US and the EU until the day of launch. So go ahead and put your pre-order in now, get it preloaded, all that nice stuff, and then join us for a launch party tournament on the 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, signups are open on challenge.com/FOA Switch, and it's going to be hosted right here on my Twitch channel. So feel free to come back next week. More Fight of Animals. I know y'all loved it when we hosted it at Quarantine Rapport this weekend. So looking forward to having that out there. So we do have a couple of topics to talk about. And I do think that it's important that we voice our opinion on the subject. Because I'm seeing a lot of takes on the subject of fighting game tournaments or just tournaments in general moving to online formats, right? But let's start by recapping Quarantined Rapport. So I do want to start by bringing up what I just mentioned, which was the Quarantined Rapport was a net play major of about 40 games, and the highest game was about something over 100 players. How many were they? I'd have to see, guys. There were like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players. I can tell you right now. I actually have the statistics here. So this past weekend, we hosted an online tournament, and there were over 1,900 orders, which means 1,900 tickets and raffles and just general admission to the online event. We're talking about an online tournament event with over 1,900 players. There was well over $5,000 raised in charity, be it through giveaways, through paid entries to the tournaments, through donations, and they went directly to Direct Relief, which was doing a charity organization supporting COVID-19 relief efforts, right? So Direct Relief, as we were told, loved the event. They're super happy what happened. They're happy to partner with Quarantine Rapport and the people who involved in it in the future. So we did a great job. I'm super proud of people who are not sponsored by major companies. There were no major sponsors here. These were all grassroots communities, small tournament communities, small locals that were not able to attend their locals anymore because of this situation, that just decided to move to this charity tournament to host their game. And this is what a net play major should look like, right?
Mhm.
One of the things that's come up in the FGC recently in the fighting game community is, what do we do about our locals or our majors now that they're being slowly canceled, right? Consider that we have a couple of games out there that can host online tournaments, and then we have a lot of games that cannot, right? So there's this split, right, where people are like, well, we can play this game online. We can play online tournaments. It should be fine. And a lot of people are. And then there's other people saying, well, no, offline, we can't replace offline tournaments. These games that we're playing don't have sufficient online. It would not be cheater free. There are a lot of reasons, right? I don't agree with a lot of the reasons, for the record. But there are a lot of reasons that people have kind of resisted this idea of saying, well, if we can't have major tournaments offline this year for the next few months, why don't we just get everyone to sign up for online tournaments, right? And then we get all the games and all the tournament organizers behind it, right? And all the sponsors and stuff like that. And yeah, so check out these numbers. So Lethal League Blaze had 359 players for their online tournament.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Tetris 255. I don't know if that's a joke or not.
It would not surprise me.
Yeah, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a number
seems
joke that they
legit.
had.
One of the biggest games here locally is Puyo Puyo.
Oh yeah, Puyo Puyo is awesome.
Like, yeah,
I love that game. I have it. That game's awesome. Melty Blood had 92 players. NA Rivals of Aether, 118 players. ARMS, 87.
Wow.
I can keep going. Smash Bros. I'm just gonna go. Like, I'm just literally scrolling. This is not in any specific order. Quarantined for Smash Bros. 64, 42 players. Now, it should be said that the guys who organize this are a New Jersey group who do Smash, right? And they specifically host Smash 64 every time they do an event, right? So it shouldn't be surprised
Okay.
that that's a large turnout. Killer Instinct, 50 players. Third Strike had a 25 player bracket. They were $5 entrants, something like that. Soul Calibur 6, 63.
Wow.
Grand
That's
Blue
impressive.
Fantasy, 68. Scroll Girls, 67. I mean, guys, right? Like, this is a major event for online tournaments, right? Usually you see an online tournament, you see 30 people at most, right? But we're talking over 1,000 players playing games on the same day, on the same Saturday, and a few of them on Sunday, right? So basically everything took place on Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is this. People are having this discussion, right? And I'm going to quote a tweet that came up on my timeline actually
Jesus
yesterday
Christ.
that said, with all the cancellations happening for physical tournaments, makes me wonder what would happen if majors went virtual. Would players still be down for this, or is net play in general too unreliable, or what? I'm genuinely curious. Well, this comes from Ambers and Roses. Rose is the community manager for Battle for the Grid,
Mm-hmm.
who posed this question. Now, Rose is actually hosting something very similar. They've been recently doing Wednesday night fights online for the Oakland
Mm-hmm.
people, and they've been doing like 8 games online every week. So they're doing this, right? They are in the process of hosting major online events. They've been getting all the casters, they've been putting in all the games, they've been inviting all the players. I mean, it's only been NorCal only, so it's been limited to that area, but they have been able to consistently translate to online, right? Not every local is going to be able to consistently translate to online, but the ones that can have been able to do it very effectively, in fact. So what happens? A lot of people don't want to see their offlines replaced, right? Understandably
Yeah.
so.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons that you would not want to get rid of your locals, right? You have to consider the perspective of certain communities. When you are talking about a game that can't function reasonably with 50 ping, right? We're talking like
Mm-hmm.
Smash Bros. Every single version of Smash Bros. Right? And I mean, every single version of Smash Bros. Is inconsistent at online, right?
Yeah.
Even
I
Dolphin net play is as good as it can get, really, for emulation.
it,
Go ahead, Proto. I know you're dying to say
yeah.
something.
I was gonna say I thought it was funny that you specifically called out Smash for the net code, and every Smash player is just like, yep, we know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah, we
doing our
know.
best.
Doing our best despite that. No, I mean, you guys are doing the best you can. These communities are
Mm-hmm.
are marching on despite the issues that they've had. But it's important to note, right, that
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's important to note that not every game is able to efficiently translate to online.
Yeah.
Smash in particular, Rivals of Aether has had netcode issues for a long time. And most Japanese fighting games are still not in any condition to do something like this. Now they have,
Yeah.
and we'll get there. But Arc System Works games as they are not able to efficiently run tournaments throughout an entire continent, right? Like every time I see Ronin Rumble or a Grand Blue or a Sam Show major, right, or a major online tournament, they have to be limited to East Coast, West Coast, or a specific state or a specific area because
Mm-hmm.
the latency just breaks the game at a fundamental level,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
every game
That's
can be Killer Instinct. Not every game can be Skullgirls.
yeah. I was gonna say that's actually what a lot of locals are doing nowadays is they're limiting entry based on area. For example, I mean, I run a Tampa specific weekly tournament online now that all of our locals are canceled.
Right.
So yeah,
That's the
so
only way that you can guarantee a reliable connection, and even then, it's not necessarily 100%. But that's the best you can do. You can say, okay, well, we need to make
mhm,
sure that people are in close proximity to each other because the game just breaks at a certain point,
yep.
and it's tough. Now, Quarantine Report was a good idea, and unfortunately, this discussion has kind of picked up because Combo Breaker 2020 is canceled, right?
Hmm.
Obviously, those guys. The thing about Combo Breaker was that when the first wave of majors were canceled, right? Like Final Round, what have you, April Annihilation, things like that. They were kind of saying, "Oh well, Combo Breaker's in May, and Combo Breaker by then everything should be fine." So I'm looking forward to buying my Combo Breaker tickets, and I'll see everybody there. Combo Breaker, that's where I'm going to prove myself and all that stuff. And now it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is obviously very heartbreaking for a lot of people. And Combo Breaker in particular, because it's in the Midwest, is kind of like a boiling point of weird communities, right? Like small games that you would not see get together for a local usually, they get to, right? Because
Yeah.
it being in the Midwest, they kind of have like a more convenient travel location. They have, you know, uh, this culture of being able to just bring anything and everything to have 24/7, bring your own console, stuff like that. So, in the spirit of that, people say, okay, well, why don't we have a major online event, get all the sponsors, throw all the games out there, and just get a bunch of people in on it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the responses from the community were a little mixed, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna straight up quote Floji-san on Twitter, who replied to this tweet saying that I feel like it could only work for Mortal Kombat. Every other currently played game netcode is just too unstable. Now, this is not true. This is quite frankly
Yeah.
not true at all, right? We
Right.
have issues with the word currently played in this situation, right? Now, James Chen replies back to this actually saying that Skullgirls, Power Rangers, Them's Fighting Herds, Punch Planet, Killer Instinct, MVCI, and many more are great candidates for a virtual FGC event. We should look into these games more during these times, right? There's plenty of
Yeah.
good games, and he replies back, saying there's plenty of good games with good netcode, but I was talking about currently played, and he says that the only ones that might be currently played out of the ones he lists are Power Rangers. Now, I think the numbers are a little inconsistent with that claim, right? Now, it's true. Mortal Kombat has a huge community and it has reliable netcode. Not every game that has good netcode has the community of Mortal Kombat. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter is in a better position than ever. Street Fighter 5 specifically because of the netcode adjustments. Like they could not have timed it better, honestly, right? Like they finally got around to patching the netcode and doing improvements when nobody can really play at their locals anyway. So you have at least Mortal Kombat, you have at least Street Fighter 5. Those games are going to be playably
Yep.
reliable for online play
Yep.
for a long time, which is great, especially now.
Yep.
And then we have games
And
like Skullgirls, like I mentioned, Quarantined Rapport, we already proved it. You got 75-man brackets for Skullgirls for Them's Fighting Herds. You got over 90 players from Melty Blood. You got Lethal League getting just hundreds of players. And there are majors running in situations where the netcode isn't even good. Like we're talking Run and Rumble, which they host Grand Blue Versus and Samurai Showdown, right? Two games with notoriously flawed netcode, but they host them. They host them
yeah.
every once in a while. They've been doing it for a while now. As a matter of fact, they got funding through SNK so that the
Yeah.
prize
That's
pot
right.
is coming through the prize pot for Samurai Showdown is coming from SNK. So all the prize money is coming from SNK for this tournament, right? Like, and SNK realizes something in doing this. Whether we like it or not, online tournaments are going to happen, right?
Yep.
There's a million reasons to host an online tournament. Be it because you want to play with your friends, be it because you can't go a certain time of the day, right? Because you have job or study or whatever, right? So you want to have this tournament experience and you want to do it with your friends or with your local or with whatever, and you just can't do it offline. There's a million reasons, right? People got places to be nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the solution? And this is where I want to kind of make a statement on this subject. We already know that it works, right? We have seen it. Quarantined Rapport this weekend got hundreds, thousands of players. Okay? Thousands of players played online,
Mm-hmm.
very few complaints, tons of positive feedback, tons of communities that would never get together anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that you would have gotten some of these people to play online. Like this 24-man Eternal Fighter Zero bracket that I see here, they would not have happened offline. Just not.
Yeah.
It's a very small community. It's a very small game.
Yeah.
So
I think it's actually a really good time for your smaller games to really shine.
yeah, absolutely right.
Because people sitting at home, they're looking for something new to try out, new to play. And you're seeing these smaller games at these events, and they're getting numbers. They're making the numbers because people are stepping out of their comfort zone to try something new. And I think it's great, honestly.
It's
So
been
it's
great, yeah.
silver lining, to all this is, a lot of these smaller games, through these online events are getting exposure that they may not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It's a positive situation for a lot of people. I do think there are a lot of fundamental flaws with online tournament. I think that the
Mhm.
number of online tournament issues that you have would probably be about the same as the number of offline tournament issues that you have. They're not necessarily the same problems, but they are in about the same number, right? Like some people have bad connection, some people have bad
Mhm.
connections between two players, and these issues are different from offline issues, right? Offline issues, you
Yep.
got hardware problems, venue, player count, just you have a whole series of issues that you have to tackle, and then a different series of issues you have to tackle when you're playing online. But
Yep.
it's not that you should translate one-to-one offline to online, right? I think that's where people are getting a little mixed up.
Yeah.
The only right way to do this is if you reinvent your event, right? Like consider what you're doing right now in offline, and then consider that 90% of it doesn't apply to online, right?
Hmm.
Ronin Rumble doesn't have an offline portion. They're a huge event. They have hundreds of players. They're not an an offline event. They don't have a local. They don't go to a venue. They just play online. That's it, right?
Hmm.
Quarantine Rapport, they do have an offline event, but only for Smash. 90% of what was in this tournament was not offline, right? So you have to reinvent your staff and reconsider your skills in order to organize an online tournament effectively. Now, here's the thing, right? There's not enough sponsors. There's not enough money to be made in doing an online tournament necessarily, right? Like, you can't really get a bunch of hardware sponsors. What's going on, Vesboy? You can't get a bunch of sponsors for your hardware and your consoles and your games and stuff like that because all you're really doing is streaming and hosting your game, right? You don't have BenQ monitors, you don't have Astro controllers, you don't have Logitech
Resources,
headsets.
man.
Yeah, you
Just
don't have these
resources.
things that
Yeah.
people want to slap on their event. Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Vestboy here in the chat. Actually, the tournament organizer, the head tournament organizer, we appreciate
Yes.
you. And yeah,
Absolutely.
So
they
much,
run more
man.
than
Thanks.
Smash, so check them out. But the overall, I think, conclusion that the FGC needs to make is that we're not going to replace offline, right? The situation right now demands that we do in some
Yeah.
circumstances, but we need to grow online as its own scene. There's no excuse for bad netcode, right? It needs to go away, just in general, right? In general,
Yep.
Well,
get
it's
it
like
out
you
of here.
said about the resources, right? With like the monitors and all that stuff. Those resources are available mostly, like you said, through sponsors or people actually coming together and volunteering and doing all of those things. So the resources are available for that aspect. Now you've already proven, and Quarantine Report has also proven that there's other games available out there that can sustain an online tournament because those resources have already been tapped into for that aspect. So like you said, it has to be grown into a different sort of atmosphere event of its own based on the resources available to make it work. So it just goes to show you that, yeah, locals will always exist because it gives people the sense of community and, everybody knows each other or whatever, but not everybody can make it, like you said, to those events.
Hmm.
It's not as easy. People may not have the funds to travel, pay for the gas money or whatever, but they have the resources already at home. They already have the monitor at home. They have the
Mhm.
computer. They have the console. They have the fight stick. They have all of that. They have the internet. So it's just a matter of these developers doing the right thing and investing in those resources so they can go ahead and make these things a fruition. So it's
Yeah,
just a matter of time. I'm sure next generation they're going to have to do it because they have to learn from this. They have to learn from the fact that I mean, how many companies are actually losing money because they didn't actually do this, right? Because now you can't have these tournaments, right?
Yeah,
So
right. So now a lot of people
think
are,
about
are
it.
not going to be playing these games necessarily because they don't have an offline to go to, right? So it's like, okay, well,
Yep.
if my offline is not there and there's no online scene for this game, then what am I really doing playing the game, right? Just grinding ranked? And then if it's like a game like Tekken, the answer is probably
Exactly.
that you don't want to play it online or just play it in general, right? Like games with very difficult online experiences are going to suffer at this time, right?
Right. So now
Now,
they have
Yeah.
they
in
have to invest in
personal
these
in personal
resources.
experiences, right? Fight of Animals: A Quarantine Report was a massive success because the game is designed around tournament online play, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
You create a lobby, there's rollback netcode, the players match, you have a easy spectating mode, and that's the end of the story, right? There's nothing else to talk about. The game just works.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a single connection issue. Nobody complained about ping, and I didn't even ask where people region were. I didn't even ask, are you NA? Are you EU? Are you Japan? I didn't ask. As
Yeah.
tournament organizer, I just said, anyone, just come on down, right? And we didn't have any problems. Now, for Smash, reasonably, because there's no other way they could do it, they had to have a West Coast and East Coast bracket separately. They had for every single version of Smash that they run, and some games were region locked to East Coast
Hmm.
because the TOs were in the East Coast, and that was the only reasonable thing they could do. So yeah, online majors they're gonna happen. You know, very soon you're gonna hear about one. You're gonna hear about the FGC talk about this big online major event, and everyone's eyes are gonna be there. You know, and companies and figureheads are gonna say, well, you know what? Since I don't really have anything to do now, I don't have any events to travel out to. I'm gonna need to start getting in on that. Sooner or
Hmm.
later, people who are naysaying these things are gonna get in on it because that's a business opportunity, right?
Of
There are
course.
major motivations that are going to come together and create this online event that at some point is going to normalize the concept of an online major. I think Quarantine
Hmm.
Report already did it at a grassroots level. I think that we've
Yeah.
already proved this thing works. Now,
Yeah.
do they want to put money in
And
it? Do,
to
that's
interject,
the question.
it's the grassroots movement's responsibility to show them that, hey, you guys, yeah, you have all these, events, all these corporations investing in your events and everything, but it's the grassroots that has to show them, like, yo, like, we're doing this, we're tapping into this potential, and we're putting it out there to show people that this can be done and it can be very efficient, right? So that's why, what you guys were able to do, this past week for the, the fundraiser for COVID-19. Everybody at home right now, everybody wants to play, everybody's part of a scene. It just goes to show them the power of the resources that we already have at home.
Mhm.
Just that, it's more so being able to take advantage of what developers have put in place for us to be able to do that. So it just goes to show them, like, yo, if you guys really want to make this happen, you can make it happen. And it
Hmm.
would actually bring more people into your tournaments, because how many people can actually go to these events personally? But how many people in the world have an internet connection that can actually, be used to play a game, right? So it's really the grassroots that has to really push it, right? It's the grassroots, the underground, that pushes it to the limelight, to the mainstream. Like, yo, check this out. Like, we did this a week ago, and then if we continue to push towards that, it just start the door. At one point, you're gonna have to open.
Yeah, at
Hmm.
some point, this is just going to become something that people are going to start participating in because
Yeah,
there's not going to be much of a choice and there's going to be a lot of reasons, motivations, right? There's going to be a lot of sponsors, there's going to be a lot of viewers, there's going to be a lot of prize spots. Um, so
and
don't be
comfort.
surprised later if people are talking about like an online event in the same level of notoriety or in terms of hype that they would in online or an offline event, especially if the tournament organizers are efficient at doing their job and the games hosted are able to provide a consistent online experience. I understand a lot of you players and a lot of you hosts of games that are not ready to make this change are going to have a very hard time. And to that, I would say you should probably ask more of your developers. You should probably
Yeah,
try new
Hmm.
things
get
legitimately,
with the
right?
times, because you're gonna get left behind, and it's gonna hurt your game. Start making
It's gonna
changes
hurt the
now.
scene. Anyway, that's the
Yeah,
topic of Quarantine Rapport. I'm super happy that we were able to participate. GBL was one of the official sponsors, so I'm super happy that we were able to get that done. It was so nice to see us on the Twitch front page via Sig Melee, so big shout out to the guys at Sig
yeah,
Melee for that awesome top Melee top 8. I had a ton of fun watching. I don't even watch
yeah.
Smash
It's
that often,
awesome.
so it was awesome. Um,
Good stuff. Good stuff.
so let's talk gaming news. And I guess the one, I don't know if this was today. Yeah, this was today. The Last of Us 2 is canceled. I'm sorry, not canceled. Delayed. Basically
I
canceled.
was like, oh no.
Basically canceled.
You,
It's the
you were
same
about to
thing.
make a lot of people cry with that statement right there, bro.
No, it's canceled. Y'all heard me. It's delayed indefinitely, which may as well be canceled. But you heard. So if you were like, planning to buy it on launch day, right, with this big, popcorn and soda type thing, no, that's canceled now. So Big
Yeah,
Monkus in the chat right now. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna read
it's
it.
big.
I'm gonna read the tweet that Naughty Dog put out, the statement that they put out. The release of The Last of Us Part 2 has been delayed. I'm gonna just kind of skim through it. The good news is we're nearly done with the development. We're in the mix of fixing our final bugs. However, even with us finishing the game, we're faced with the reality that due to logistics beyond our control, we couldn't launch The Last of Us Part 2 to our satisfaction. So basically, based on logistical issues, they're going to be delaying the game until such a time that they can resolve these issues, these logistic issues.
It sounds like a PS5 launch title actually.
Well, yeah, they are not. Well, they say here that we're hoping that this won't be a long delay, and we'll update you as soon as we have new information to share.
Yeah.
So, this game has taken a very long time to get made, and Naughty Dog has been accused of crunch before this even came out. Man, some of the comments on this Twitter thread are just nasty. But
Yep.
the situation is that we have a studio that really can't get their act together, it seems like, because this is not the first delay they've had. There's been a ton of delays. There's been a ton of rumors about the work culture inside the company. They're advocating crunch. They're having a huge amount of issues with QA, and now we don't even know what's going to come out. Now, a lot of people were saying it's fine. There's a lot of major releases coming out: Resident Evil 3, Final Fantasy 7 remakes, Cyberpunk down the line, right? Whatever else comes out this year. So they can take their time. It's fine. But we're getting at a point where PlayStation 5 is right around the corner, and this game is not out yet. So yeah, you're probably right, Aliens. I do think that at this point, the smart business decision might just be to launch this thing on PS5.
That's
right?
what I would do.
Like, it would have to be on PS4 because the game is built at PS4 at this point, right? Like,
Yeah.
they would have to PS4 release it, but why not, right? Why not just say, oh, it's coming out same day as PlayStation 5 or something like that, right?
Yeah, especially with
So
the
you make a
backwards
lot of people-
compatibility that
yeah.
they're gonna do.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say,
know.
make a lot of people upset if you skip out on the PS4 release.
I mean, they skipped it's like we're getting to a point where an entire console generation came and went, and this game has not come out, right? So
yeah,
That's pretty bad PR if you ask me too, because I mean you've been hyping up this game for how many years already? Like 3, I think, 2 or 3.
now this, I mean, Final Fantasy 7 is around the corner, and that was announced 2015, right? So it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
And-
FF7 took a long time.
and
It's
we're
kind of the
still
same thing
talking
with
about it.
Yeah,
But at least we got a demo for it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I'm still.
We got a
I've
demo
played
for
the
our
demo.
troubles.
I was gonna say I've played the demo. I had a good time. I'm still not convinced it's a real video game.
Oh yeah, it's very soon. Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Like, what's
Yeah.
new? What's gonna be new with that? So yeah, The Last of Us 2 delayed indefinitely. I genuinely hope that when we finally see this thing come out, I really hope that there's just like a big headline article in Kotaku or something like that showing the many issues of Naughty Dog or whatever happened. Because you don't go 5 years on a AAA title without having major issues. I
Let me
would
ask you
love to
something.
see a post-mortem on this in the future, right? Like, what happened?
Naughty Dog got bought by Sony though recently, right?
Yes, I think.
So you
I'm
think
not
that
sure.
may have had an influence because now that they own them, they tell them, hey, we need this also to be available for PS5 on
Yeah,
day
but I don't
one.
think they would release the. I don't think that you would go 5 years really, waiting for this game, if that were
Yeah.
your ambition, right? Because I mean, Sony has other games going on, right? They got Ghost of Tsushima, stuff like that, like.
Mhm.
But it does seem like Sony doesn't really care that the PS5 is coming out. Ghost of Tsushima, like I just mentioned, Ghost of Tsushima. That game's coming out on PS4. I mean,
We
is it
need
going
to
to be
see
the
if that gets
last
delayed.
major AAA title of the generation?
Yeah.
Is it?
We need to
Maybe.
find out if that gets delayed. If that gets delayed, then okay. Then it makes
Like,
sense.
it doesn't
Now, if
seem
that
like
doesn't get
PS4
delayed-
cares. Like the PS4 generation cares very much, right? Like Persona 5 Royals coming out. Final
That's
Fantasy
already
7.
out, isn't it?
It might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
think
on
it
on
is.
PS4, right? Like a last year title. Final Fantasy 7, right? PS4 release, right? And Ghost of Tsushima, Like all these games are coming out in the last year of the generation. It's like, well, so who cares? PS5's coming out. Who cares? You're still gonna buy your PS4 game. So interesting tactics on their part, I think. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, we can talk about that again because apparently we're having issues shipping the game. So aliens, what happened with this game? Tell me. What?
So what was being reported, right? It actually got reported on Monday, and then of course today, they kind of like doubled down on the story because of what happened with The Last of Us. But Square Enix, right, decided to go ahead and ship copies of the game early to Europe and Australia, and then starting this week, they were going to go and start shipping copies to the Western Hemisphere because the game is supposed to come out on the 10th. But
Yes.
as we already know, Australia has already broken street date. Europe has already broken street. When it comes to street date, it's the publisher that puts the street date, right? They enforce it, but obviously during this pandemic that's going on, nobody's really going to sweat the fact that the game has already broken street date, right? So it's not Square Enix that's likely telling them, hey, go ahead and put it out, because that doesn't make much sense, right? I mean, what's the point of them buying the game if you could just watch somebody stream it online, if anything, right? So think about it, right? Why would Square Enix tell your stores in Europe and Australia, hey, go ahead and put it out, and then have the West wait a week, right? So they went ahead and did that to go ahead and at least make sure that they got their copies. But due to the circumstances we're in, right, stores probably just want to make the money as fast as they can before everything gets locked down, right? Because as you know, in the states, they had that article about GameStop, trying to tout their, they tout that their stores are still open and all of that because they're essential. And then the next day, a whole bunch of stores started getting closed, right? So
Yeah. So it's no longer like a safe bet.
right. So it goes to show you that, okay, yeah, the game's already being shipped to the States and the whole Western Hemisphere, but there's no guarantee that it's going to make it on time, or even if it does make it on time, that the stores are actually going to be open for you to buy it. Right. So that's why the game came out early in Europe and Australia. It wasn't because Square Enix, because these stores, they're taking advantage of the fact that they got probably the hottest release of the year for most people. Like, hey, we're going to cash in on this now before we, have a bunch of copies sitting on the shelves that nobody could buy, and then they'll just buy it online. So it's expected, really, due to the circumstances. But if that was the case, they should have just shipped it to the whole world at the same
Yep.
time.
I mean, the
Yeah.
game's still going to be
Why make
available
people wait?
digitally, right? That's
Yeah,
people are buying digital games all the time now, so it's not like an issue.
yeah. Especially now. I mean, nobody wants to go outside to really buy a game. I mean, people might, but it is what it is. It's just like sneakers right now with what's going on with the sneaker game. A lot of these sneakers are getting pushed back 1-2 months, and the stores already have them. Like we have it on our site. Some sneakers that we got a review from one of our friends, DJ Dells, and shout out to him. And he went to the actual retailer and reviewed the sneaker, but the sneaker's already been pushed back, right? So, and the reason they're doing that is because of social distancing, right? They don't want people to gather together, gather around, make lines to try to get a game or a sneaker, right? So that's why they're just either holding it out, right, holding it back, or in Europe's case and Australia's case, they're just going to go ahead and release the game as fast as they can, get it off the shelves so that everybody
Yeah.
has it, and then when they lock everything down, everything's peachy, but it's
Yeah, so
business, right?
it's a business interest right now to get the game out, which is going to lead to situations like that. I guess if you're tuning in, watch out for Final Fantasy VII spoilers. I mean, 20-year-old game, but
Yeah.
there's going to be new content.
Yeah.
So there's going to be spoilers, even if the game's basic plot is there already. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty regarding this situation. Square Enix has made multiple statements regarding the shipping time of Final Fantasy VII being very inconsistent. They're not sure that everything's going to be there exactly on time. A lot of supply chains are going to be disrupted, specifically for non-essential things like these, right? So if you're
Mhm.
planning on picking up Final Fantasy VII, if you haven't pre-ordered it digitally already, I would probably suggest doing that, right? Most
Yeah, it's the
safest way,
safest
right? You
thing.
get a preload.
Yeah.
You get to preload the game, play it on launch day. Don't
At
gotta
12 too.
yeah, no issues, right? So if you're
Yep.
planning on buying it, just consider it, right?
And not
And
just that, I also wanted to add, even Resident Evil 3 came out before Street
Yeah.
Date, because a few days
yes,
ago, I saw a
It came out.
guy.
I was gonna say
What
it
was
came
it?
out like 2 weeks before Street Date.
Yeah, and
Because
I saw a dude playing it.
yeah, because there was a French store that broke the
Uh-huh.
Street
It
Date
was a Prince.
like a
Yeah.
week ago
yes,
on PS4. I watched like the first hour of the game,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's like
man,
a
I really
whole
wish
playthrough.
hadn't watched that, but like I couldn't turn it around. I mean, Game Explain had an entire playthrough up on their channel today. Um, so it's out there.
It's
Yeah,
out there.
they broke the street date, because obviously in Europe the situation is pretty bad for at least
Hmm.
two countries, right? Spain and Italy, right? And then the neighboring countries, they're very very wary of what's going on in those countries. But then again, it gives them a reason to go ahead and break street day, right? To try to also protect their own citizens from being stupid and making a line of 100 people when they're
Yeah.
supposed to be social distancing, right? So I understand that, but those people, I saw that they were actually posting those videos. They were actually getting banned from YouTube,
Oh
right?
wow.
Because
Yeah,
they were
that's right. Yeah,
Yes, they
abandoned
were.
Twitch as well.
so
It's gonna be
that's probably why
crazy,
you're not
right?
seeing too
Like,
much Final Fantasy
be
stuff too.
careful about the kind of content you're putting out, because next thing you know, you put out like some early content and then like get copy striked or something, right? Like
Yeah.
Yep.
uncertain times for major releases. And I guess we can flip the coin now to the other big thing, which is actually just a rumor. So news outlet VGC, VideoGamesChronicle.com, leaks that the 35th anniversary of Mario, which is this year, is going to include re-releases of Super Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. And they're planning on doing that as a single collection of games. Like you buy one title and you get those 3 games, is what we're hearing. On top of
Hmm.
that, they're planning on releasing several other Wii U titles, like Super Mario 3D World, which was 2013 release for the Wii U, and they'll probably do something like Deluxe Edition, which they do for a lot of the other titles, where they re-release it with new content and remix levels and like an extra character, things
Hmm.
like that, right? Uh, this is pretty big in terms of
Yep.
It
leaks.
is, yeah.
Like Nintendo leaks don't come out that often. Especially in the nature of certainty that this report seems to have. They're pretty damn certain about what they're saying here. They're saying, uh, the re-releases are being treated as a special anniversary, so it's not going to be a virtual console release or anything like that. You're going to be able to buy them, all 3 of them, one package, and then there's going to be a re-release of like more recent Wii U games as a deluxe edition, right? Now there hasn't been a Mario game this year, right? There has
Nope.
been no major Mario game this year, so that would be a
No.
reasonable thing to expect to come out towards later the end of this year. The other part of this rumor was that Paper Mario is coming back as
And in a return to form.
in a return to form. Yes, supposedly a RPG, obviously RPG game, much more like the N64 and GameCube versions, instead of trying to spin off in the way that the DS, the Wii games were, right? Like later generations. So, you know, people familiar with Paper Mario say, "Oh wow, Thousand Year Door, so sounds great, right? Can we have Thousand Year Door back?" And
Yep.
yeah, we probably will have something very similar to that. I don't know what expectations people have. I know people really like Mario Sunshine. Um, People really like Mario Sunshine. It has kind of like a cult following, even if you didn't play it, just because people kind of remember the aesthetic and it's been fondly remembered over time by the internet.
Hmm.
So if this ends up being true, uh, I guess that would be the major release of this year, right? I don't think there would be any other major Nintendo releases coming out this year if this ends up being the case, aside from Xenoblade Chronicles, which we already know about. Uh,
I would think
Um.
so. I would think so.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying to rack my brain of what all could be coming out this year.
I think
Um.
to me, I think the thing people came up to, like their first conclusion, was that there's no Zelda this year in any way because of this.
Well,
Uh, I think the timing would be a
yeah.
little tight.
it's just hard because even over there in Japan, like, it goes with what's going on right now. It's like I remember somebody was talking about, like, this is a guy on YouTube that I usually like to watch his videos, Eight Thoughts. He's talking about how at least for example in Call of Duty, right? You hadn't seen many updates because nobody's at work, right? They can't
Yeah.
take their resources
Oh yeah,
home,
for sure.
right? So they can't work on any of that stuff. So out in East Asia, right? Obviously, situation at one point was really dire, and who knows what it's really like in some of these countries because of censorship and things like that. But I'm sure that that had a major influence on what was possibly delayed till next year, or what had to be scrapped, or what had to be
Uh
postponed.
huh.
So that's probably why you're not gonna maybe see, like you said, a major Mario release this year, right? Because how much time do they really have to actually crunch everything together, and resources available? We don't know,
We
right?
don't really
So
know. Yeah.
it's tough.
But it's a pretty major rumor. If you're not familiar with that news already, well, there you go. I guess you should expect to be buying Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy in a single package here in the very near future, in the next few months. And if you missed out on Wii U titles like 3D World, I played 3D Land on 3DS. That was a great game. So 3D World, I might get it.
3D World's more of the same, but it's also got multiplayer, which
Yes, it
I
does.
wonder if they'll try and incorporate some of the online, like Mario Maker 2 has.
Yeah, Mario Maker 2, I guess, is the other thing.
Yeah, which I hear. I haven't played Mario Maker 2 yet myself, but I hear the online's kind of rough.
It is rough.
So
Yeah, that's the community's conclusion. The Mario Maker 2 online, nah, don't do that. But I guess we should look forward to that. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that a lot of Wii U titles are deserving of re-releases, like Wonderful 101, which is coming out very soon, and I'm buying that launch day, and we're gonna play it launch day. I'm promising you all right now. Wonderful 101 on PC. As soon as we know it comes out, I don't remember when it comes out. When does that thing come out? Somebody tell me.
Jeez, it's coming out on Switch at what, May?
It's coming out like really, really soon. May 19. So May 19. Check back here next month. May 19. We're gonna buy that thing. We're gonna play it.
Yeah.
So
if that Mario All-Star Rumors is really true, I really wish. I know it's wishful thinking. I really wish it would come out also for PC.
Nah, man, that'll never happen.
I know it's wishful thinking, but I mean, I don't own a Switch or a Wii or Wii U, so I can't play these titles. I'm not gonna
hardware. Switch hardware sales are better than ever right now. So don't.
You see what I'm saying? So like, I just wish that they made that available, for the people that don't have them, but they still want to enjoy the games, But
well, they want to sell you their hardware, so.
Oh yeah, hardware sales. I've been hearing that Switch hardware sales are like through the roof lately. So that's something, right?
I think Animal Crossing did absurdly well.
Yes, it did absurdly well. absurdly well.
It's the perfect quarantine game.
That's the thing about Nintendo, man. They just know how to bundle everything, man. They just know. Always. I remember when I got my Nintendo and when I got my Super Nintendo. When I got my Super Nintendo, for example, they came with I got it like in '94, I think it was, for Christmas, and came with Super Mario World, Super Mario All Stars, and 2 controllers. I mean, like, Jesus Christ, like you had what is that, like 5-6 games, 2 controllers? I mean, you played that for like 3 years straight, man, and you just rented a bunch of games after that,
Yep.
So they just know how to bundle everything properly, man. And of course, the first party games, I mean, they're world class, right? So I understand. I definitely understand, the move that they're making here with All Stars 2. If it actually does come out, I mean, like I'm telling you right now, like I don't have one, but I want to play it. So I mean,
yeah, All Stars 2. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna have that name. That's kind of a very throwback title, but I mean, something's gonna happen, right? 35th anniversary collection. I don't know. Could be anything. Nintendo.
I want it. I don't even have a Switch.
All right, Nintendo. Where's my Kirby game? Get on with it. Put your Mario game out.
I was gonna say they came out with a Kirby game though.
Which one was it? All Star Allies?
No. Like, are you in a collection, or do you want a
new one?
A new one?
Yeah.
What was the last one that came out on Switch that no one liked?
Star Allies. I'm telling you.
Yeah, Kirby. Yeah,
no don't do that. I don't want that. Give me Air Ride 2, please. Thank you. That's all I want.
I know. I want Air Ride 2 as well, but
it's not gonna happen. HAL Lab didn't really in business that no more.
I was gonna say, that was wasn't that the last time Sakurai worked with Kirby?
I don't know.
I think it is.
But I think Mr. Sakurai better give us that game. All right. So I don't know if we have like any last topics, any last minute things to talk about here.
Doom. I finished it.
Doom.
The final boss video. It's actually already on our channel in 4K. Played the game in 4K ultra settings. Definitely recommend the game. I had a lot of fun playing it. I think Proto, you said you were getting to it now, right?
Yeah, I played about 30 minutes of it last night. Had a good time. I've got to update my drivers because evidently if you don't have the Doom specific drivers, it flickers black.
Like you get to the 3rd level and it crashes if you don't have the up-to-date drivers.
Damn.
So
okay, good to know.
Yeah, don't play it without updating your drivers. You're gonna have a bad time.
But yeah, no, I wanted to say Doom was awesome. Like I said in the last podcast, the middle missions took me a while because I took my time and I was getting wrecked a little bit here and there because I was playing in ultra violence. Not saying that that's super hard, but it's the hardest you can do at that time before you get wrecked if you do it in a nightmare and all that other stuff. But definitely well made game. Very, very recommended, especially if you get it on sale on PC. Because when I got it, I think it was what, $52 or something like that on Fanatical.
Yes.
So if you can get the game for less than retail, go for it, especially if it's on PC, right? But definitely
PC
recommend the
version's really
game.
good. PC version's really
Yeah,
good.
it's dope, man. I mean, I was looking at the review on PC Gamer, and I think it got like a 92 or something like that. It was like, wow, like
Yeah, for sure.
and the reason I was looking at that is because I was looking at all the reviews for Resident Evil 3. You know, we were talking about it the other day, right?
Yeah, we were talking about
How,
this just amongst ourselves the other day.
Mhm.
yeah, like how a lot of people are, really giving it a mixed review, right? I mean, we didn't see that too much with RE2, right? A lot of people were, well, not only were they really hyped for it, but what they saw, they were like, okay, this is going to be what it needs to be. And a lot of people when they played the demo for RE3, they felt a certain way about it. And with these reviews coming out, it kind of justifies what they felt, right? Like, I'm not too sure about the game, but then again, there's a lot of people giving it 8 and higher, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like a good 5 to 10 are giving it less. And then, of course, there's people bashing it on the internet. I was skeptical at first, of course, when I saw it because I was looking, very forward to the game, and then seeing this, I'm like, I don't know if I want to pay that much money to get it. And I ended up, biting the bullet, and I'll have Resident Evil 3. I think tonight, actually. I think it's gonna actually release on PC at 12 Eastern.
That's
Probably not.
exciting.
I don't know about that. I mean, Steam usually updates in the middle of the day.
It does, but there's been people talking about it. Somebody on Twitter that is involved with Capcom and the PR and all that stuff, they mentioned it. So we'll
Yeah,
see if
I
that's
mean,
true or not.
I've seen games go for like their own release times and stuff, but I don't know. Usually they just default it to
The
when
only
Yeah.
Steam Store
preload
updates.
yet. That's the only
Yeah.
bad thing about the Steam thing. That there's no
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
preload yet.
Yeah.
that's rough.
Preload is a lifesaver.
No, but
Um,
like
Yeah,
I remember Mortal Kombat 11 when it came out, I had it
remember
preloaded
that, right?
and the decompressing time was so long that I canceled it and downloaded it again. Like it was shorter.
wow.
Yeah, like don't
I
like
remember.
PC decompressing on that stuff. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just
Yeah, it's
if you
rough.
have good internet, just download it today. Just save yourself some time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but RE3, yeah, a lot of the like I said, ended up getting it. So if it happens to release tonight, then very likely I'll stream it. I'll stream it here on Twitch. And then, of course, it'll also be on our YouTube channel. If not, tomorrow for sure. That's the plan. April 3rd, Resident Evil 3. We'll see what it's like. I played a little bit of Resistance. I actually got to play one match before the podcast. My first impression of it, I didn't like it. Honestly,
Okay.
it felt weird.
You don't play any like Dead by
Um,
Daylight or anything like that though, right?
Never tried it. I've seen it, but I've never tried it. But I guess first impression. I mean, it's only one match. It lasted maybe about, I don't know, 3 minutes because we got destroyed. So
Yeah.
I don't want to give it such a negative review because it's not really a review. It's just an impression.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, first
once
like
the actual release comes out, right, the official release, I'll check it out for sure. But I'm looking to see, man, because I was reading on the Steam forums earlier today how a lot of people were saying, when Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, a lot of people were really skeptical about it, and then it came out to be this awesome game. So,
yeah,
we'll see
I
if
Yeah.
think
RE3 has the same fate.
the reviews coming out to like a kind of 7.5, 8-ish game. I mean, guys, like I feel like that score might okay, so the scores couldn't be skewed by Project Resistance, the multiplayer, because it wasn't live at the time of those review scores, right? So it's
Yeah.
purely on the
Yeah. A
single
lot of
player.
those. Yeah. A lot of those reviews have Project Resistance as a separate review
Yes.
from the main single player game. I mean, honestly, like if you want, it from my understanding is on its own the game it's a good game. It's a lot of fun. Um, and people like it just on its own where it exists kind of in a vacuum. The problem is that it's not really the case, because people are going to compare it to Resident Evil 2 2019. That was my personal game of the year,
Hmm.
um, and they're comparing it to that. They're comparing it to the original Resident Evil 3. Where the complaints were, for this remake, it not being a great remake, with some of the story beats being remixed to where some people weren't really fond of how they were remixed. They felt a little miffed by the lack of the titular character from the original, and I think that's where some of those lower review scores come from. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, it's I don't know. I'll have to reserve my own judgment for when I play it, but I unfortunately won't be able to play it for a while. So it's going to take me a minute to play it. But I'll
Yeah,
definitely give my full thoughts when I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should, but have it on shared, right? We have the share on Steam, so if anything, we could always enable that for you too, so you could try it out. But
I
I'll see,
think
man. I'll see. Um, I
I'm
think
very interested in seeing what this game is versus what people expect it to be. I think it's weird because 2019 Resident Evil 2 is like a cultural touchstone of remakes. Like, I don't
it's a
think
landmark,
anybody should be like, yeah, this game has to be as good as RE2. Like, how do you make a game as good
Yeah.
as RE2 remake, right? Like, if you're
right?
a Resident Evil
When the
fan,
original wasn't even close.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you're probably gonna enjoy this game. Um, just simply on the fact that it seems to be a well-made game with the right story beats and the right ideas, but not necessarily always in the right place in terms of, I guess, direction compared to the original.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're gonna have to reserve judgment to when the game's out for everybody,
Yeah.
because aside from that one guy who played the whole game early, which kudos to you,
Yeah.
random French guy, we're
Random
we
French
haven't been
guy.
able to give our opinion yet. So I guess we're gonna have to call it on that for the night. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in. That's going to be another episode of GBL Podcast. Follow me here on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Shibarizu. On Twitter. So if you guys want to keep up to the latest episodes and see when we're planning on doing them, because we might have a lot of things going on in the next few weeks. So don't be surprised if it's like one day or the other. We have a different podcast on different days of the week. Then feel free to follow us on Twitter. Follow Aliens. Aliens, say your final thoughts.
Well, guys, as I mentioned before, right, if RE3 happens to release tonight and everything is smooth, I'll likely go ahead and stream it on our Twitch channel, right, twitch.tv/gotta be legend. Make sure to also follow the Gotta Be Legend Twitter, right, at Gotta Be Legend, Instagram, all the social media handles at the top of the screen. Make sure you follow the co-hosts, of course, Shibarizu and Proto Dad. Stay safe out there. Don't go out if you don't need to, and take care of each other, man. Take care of each other, and the grassroots online, tournament, and you happen to have the game, get involved, and experience something that most people never have, right? Because it's just the start of a new trend, and it's just gonna go up from here.
Yep. Yep.
And Proto.
Y'all, yeah, take care of yourselves. Check me out at, of course, Proto Dad's Dojo. Probably seeing a lot more Animal Crossing streams. But tomorrow night, if you are interested in an online tournament for Smash to kind of check out, see how it works, we'll be streaming our online local, Tampa Never Sneezes. That's going to start at 8:30.
8:30. Y'all
We
heard.
usually, yep, we'll be usually go on to about 11 or so. So definitely stop by, check that out. But all right, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
All right, so it's going to be another episode of GBL Podcast. Like I said, that's going to be it from us. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we'll be back next week.